All right, I want to take this time to talk a little bit about the project and working and just kind of in general some ideas. And some of you have done this a great job of choosing your what if question, looking at the height, changing the motion, all this interesting things. I know some of you are finding that it's easier to put things outside the system like food or putting something that's going to be working on the system. We'll get to that in a bit. It is easier to put things all in the system. But when calculating, it tends to be a little more difficult if you're going to be doing working and such. I want to talk about transferring energy into the system. We're going to look at this car that rolls back. And so what we'll call snapshot 1, hand begins to pull it back, and then snapshot 2, car is released. So what you'll see is right before you pull it back to right before you release it. And so what you have is this hand is outside the system. And so if I was going to draw from snapshot 1 to 2 an energy flow diagram, the hand is transferring energy to the system. So the force by hand is to the left. And what you're going to do is you're going to move that car to the left also. So there is a displacement. So force by hand and a displacement by the hand, same direction to the left. That is that interaction. That is the transferring energy into the system. So back to when you were developing these Lowell diagrams and energy flow diagrams and bar charts, you had something that looks like this. And so what I'm going to do is show there is a spring force. There's a force on the cart by the spring, and it starts in one position, and the cart is pressed or moved to a new position, and that little gap right there is the displacement of the spring. Try a little different look. Now, if we're going to transfer out of the system, notice in snapshot 1, it is moving right before it hits the spring. So there's a force on the system or on the block by the spring, but notice that the spring actually displaces in the opposite direction. So force by spring is in the opposite direction as the displacement of the spring. When these two are in the opposite direction, you have energy transferred out of the system. Force by hand in the same direction as displacement of hand, energy into the system. Force by spring in the opposite direction of the displacement of the spring, energy flow out of system. So there is another way to take a look at this, and that is using force displacement or force position graphs. Really useful tool to use. And if you notice, working a positive area is the transfer of energy into the system. There is another way to transfer energy in or out of the system. I've talked to a few of you about this, and that is heating. If you notice a significant temperature change, heating is a transfer of energy. Thanks for watching. Please contact me if you have any questions.